live on social media. Hey, hello everyone. Again, I'm so excited because we have another episode of the Puppet Podcast. And tonight, I'm honored to connect on West Coast. Ta-ta-ta-da! Look at this gentleman. So yeah, we go in his shop and we will see some actual puppets. So yeah, everyone, gather and please share this if you want to have others to join in the live atmosphere. And if you have any questions during the interview, feel free to write it below. We will bring it into the screen and you can say hi from where you are watching. It's always fun to see. And before we go into the interview, I just want to let you know that, again, we have this Patreon community that we put together. We give tools to puppeteers about marketing coaching, about how to sell, the branding. We have workshop over there. We gather the community to give knowledge to others, just to share this wonderful piece of art, this wonderful medium that puppetry is. And yes, let's be all united in this specific hard moment, but it kind of opened up. I think, I don't know in your part of the world, but let's see how it goes and let's connect again more and more. So feel free to have a look on our website also. It's Puppet Podcast. Just Google us and you will find. So yes. So now, ladies and gentlemen, please drum roll for
Geahk Burchill.
Yeah, let's say Geahk. I think it's simple.
Yes.
Geahk. Yeah, so cool to have you on the show. We finally made it. It's kind of like in the past we miss each other, but now it's the right time.
Yes, well, I had a very challenging the last few years, so it was very rocky, but I finally have stable internet and a workshop that I can show off and work that I'm currently working on that I'm very proud of. So it's the right time.
That's so cool. Thank you so much to accept the invitation. And I will let you introduce yourself. I often find it's kind of an exercise to introduce yourself to the community who are watching right now.
Well, my name is Geahk Burchill. I'm originally from California, but I've spent the last 20 years in Oregon, in Portland. And I am a marionettist primarily. I love marionette puppets. My work, which I started in about 1997 or 98 when I first joined a puppet troupe in the Bay Area, was mostly inspired by William Anderson Dwiggins. And then my own kind of evolutions came from there. Primarily, I am a puppet builder. I do perform shows, or I did perform shows for a long time. Some people have called me the research and development end of the marionette community.
Yeah, I heard your name many times, like Geahk. I feel you are referenced and people refer to your work. So this is really interesting to have you as a marionette genius.
It's funny, the longer I work in marionettes, the more I understand how little I understand and how far away I am from being a master at it.
That's good, because that's a life lesson. We learn, and more we learn, more sometimes we don't know. It's so interesting. Correct. So yeah, we have Toybox who are watching right now. So yeah.
Oh, hey.
Thank you, Toy, to be with us. And yes, Ili is a fan of Toybox. So yeah, everyone gather and please feel free to ask questions during this wonderful interview. So Geahk, are you ready for the first deep question?
I am.
Yes, the first is the why. Like, what makes the art of puppetry an art that you cherish?
Well, I would say it is all the art forms combined. The thing that makes me most attracted to puppetry in general is that it is storytelling, and storytelling is the most ancient form of human communication even before we had really strong words. We told each other, that's where the animals are, that's where the food is, that's where the water is. We developed puppetry, I think, very, very early, probably before we had very strong language skills. And the manipulation of objects in order to tell stories is very important to the human story. Beyond that, my favorite thing about it is that anytime I'm interested in some art form, puppetry is always the receptacle, the place that whether it's sound design or lighting design or set design or writing or music or Foley work or carving or sculpting or painting or drawing, it all kind of folds back into puppetry. It's the ultimate mixed medium because you can take everything you're interested in and kind of fold it into this one thing that then becomes a basket to hold it all.
Yes, I love this answer. I think you just name all the versatility of this art form. This is so awesome. And I want to hear your crush moment, like when this crush for puppetry happened. You have an anecdote on that?
Yeah, well, it's funny because I got into marionettes very late. I was 19, I think, and I'd never really seen marionettes. My generation, I'm a little bit older than you, I think. You look quite a bit younger than I am at any rate, and there aren't a lot of marionette puppeteers from my generation. There are people much older than me and people much younger than me, but Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood was sort of the last show that had any marionettes, when I was a child. And so I didn't really see marionettes. And then I was invited to a birthday party for a friend of mine's boyfriend was just having a celebration. We went over to their house. It was this eclectic little house right on the edge of Oakland in Berkeley. There were theater carpets on the floor that had been, recycled from a theater. There were all these animal bones and ancient, like rusty and wood sculptures that were in the house. And there were all these antique toys, these little, 1940s and 1950s, like, some of them were definitely puppets, but mostly they were just like, a little biscuit boy from advertisement or something like that. And we had a video camera. Somebody had loaned the household a video camera. And in the late 90s, that was very rare. I didn't know anyone who owned a video camera.
Yeah.
And so on a whim, we decided, well, we can't waste this opportunity. And so somebody set up the camera and we set up a little stage on the coffee table and we started taking dolls off the shelves and adding strings to them. And we performed a little puppet show just because this camera was there and we didn't want to waste the opportunity. Before then, I really had no thought in my head. I was a comic book artist. I didn't think about it at all. But suddenly it was like, well, here's the same storytelling medium. It's sort of animation in live action in real time. And I was already starting to get really interested. I was sculpting and carving. So the third dimension kind of captivated me almost as much as puppetry did.
So cool, because that's true that camera is also really like in love with puppets. It's kind of like not just for theater. The puppet could live really well in front of camera.
Yeah, I think that as I've sort of transitioned, I used to do only live shows, and I would not exactly forbid people from recording, but I always said that, if you record the show and watch it later, it's not going to be the same thing. You're not going to enjoy it. It's not going to you can't show other people and feel what it's like to experience being in a live show. And so for a long time, I kind of dismissed the camera. And in the last few years, I've been transitioning more and more to wanting to do puppets on film, because the thing that I didn't like about the idea of a camera is that it's so poor at capturing the live theater experience. Yeah. But it does many other things very well, editing and, light and shadow. And there's a lot of things that you control the pacing and the flow and everything like that. So I've been really wanting to push my puppetry more into film, especially because I tend to do so much detail, as you might be able to see. You can't really see it in a live show. You only get to see it after the show, and everybody comes up and takes a close look.
Yes, that's really interesting as a like your study, your field of study, and how you fall into. I want to know your opinion about the best field of study for someone to become a puppeteer or a builder. What do you believe on this?
So this is the thing that I think is so great about puppetry. I think that there's any artistic direction can lead you into puppetry, because they all lead into puppetry. It's the basket that contains everything. So if you love animation and you love studying movement and you're already kind of in this world, puppetry is this live action, real time animation. If the thing that you like to do is sculpting in clay or Sculpey or Fimo or something like that, or the thing you like to do is write, this is one of those ways. It's very accessible theater. I work in 1/4 scale, so it's significantly cheaper to put on a production with these big, elaborate, massive sets, because they're only very small. So I really don't think that there's a single starting point or a best starting point. I think all roads lead here.
That's perfect. We will convert the world to puppetry. We have Louis Johnson, who say like,
"Oh, hi.
Geahk is a true master of the creative art. Thank you, brother. So cool." Yeah, everyone.
Louis, are you still in Australia?
Yeah, maybe you will answer. I will bring it into the screen as I see it.
I made a pair of blinking eyes for one of Louis's puppets a couple of years ago, 2019, I think. Very fun project. Unfortunately, very difficult to do at the time. I was in an attic apartment with like no table space. Very challenging.
Yes, that's true. And you send it to Australia?
Mm-hmm.
That's so interesting. And yes, we have the answer. Yeah, Matt. So
he has a doctor character that I believe those eyes went into.
Wow, so cool. It's such a small world, the puppetry community, but at the same time, we are so passionate all together in this. So that's why I feel we are all connected. And I want to know your definition of a puppet in your own word, or a marionette, how you define what it is.
Well, I mean, I take the very loosest possible definition of what a puppet is. A puppet is a tool for storytelling. It is a extension of the human body in one way or another that communicates something. And so you can pick anything up off of your desk and make a story out of it, and you are a puppeteer. And I think that the term marionette also is one that, while it definitely is one of the more challenging forms of puppetry, anything that puts you out of direct contact with the puppet and you're on the end of strings, which are inherently very flexible. It's a somewhat more difficult form of puppetry. And I would say that marionetting is sort of the act of controlling by wire or string or something like that. But there's Vietnamese marionettes, which are upside down. They sit in the water, and instead of using gravity as the force you're working against with the strings, you're using the buoyancy of the water. So a marionette can be almost as broad as the term puppetry itself.
Yes, so true. And let me ask you your goals, because every puppeteers envision something in their career or something they want to create or achieve. Do you have specific goals that you envision for the future?
I absolutely do. And I think a number of people in the community already know about this. Back in 2013, I ran a Kickstarter campaign for a show that I wanted to do called The Doom That Came to Fiddle Creek. And while the Kickstarter campaign was successful, we got $13,000 to do it, and we pushed really hard. In the course of the campaign, we realized that we needed to get stuff onto video to people. That sort of transformed the nature of it. I'll say it was scope creep. The show got a lot bigger than we ever anticipated, and very quickly we discovered that the money that we had raised was not enough to complete the project, and it was a huge embarrassment for me. I spent years kind of very frustrated by the fact that I wasn't able to deliver this project, to finish this film that I was working on, the book that was associated with it. And in a way, I'm Captain Ahab and this is my white whale. I have to finish this piece that I've been working on, in part, off and on, certainly not constant, but for about 15 years now. This has been in the background.
Oh.
And that's only sort of the first step. Getting that play or that story finished and out there for people to see is sort of the dam that is holding back a huge amount of creative outflow if I can get it moving. I have at least 4 other stories that I've been working on for years that I'd really like to get done, and I think they'll be films at this point rather than live productions, which they were originally intended for. But I really want to explore there's sort of an obvious metaphor in marionettes that begs exploration, where I can tell a layered story, a story that works great as a puppet show, and a story that works great as just a story, and then a story that also works great as a metaphor for control, for what do marionettes actually mean to us on the subconscious level? How are we being, instrumentalized by forces beyond our awareness? And so there's all these things that I want to delve into, and I feel like I've only just started.
Yeah, it's so interesting that you bring this subconscious aspect of it, because that's true that the symbol itself is so powerful in terms of communication for the audience to feel that kind of like control aspect. So I can't wait to see that stuff coming up.
Yeah, I also have a book that I've been working on for a long time, also going all the way back to 2013. I've got sort of a page that I'm working on that now.
Wow.
I'm building a current marionette, but I've been really, as a marionette builder who grew up without a lot of resources, I found maybe it's just my library system or what have you, but the William Dwiggins book, Marionette in Motion, was really the only manual I had on how to build marionettes. So in some ways I had to sort of build from a vacuum. I had to invent everything kind of from scratch. And so one of the things that I've been working on is doing some more marionette books, and I want to produce a manual that draws on my comic book background.
Wow.
Where I will have, very clear step-by-step, patterns and templates that you can trace onto tracing paper, and then it shows you every step of the way how you build the marionette. And it'll even include my preferred vellum, Canson vellum, my favorite paper company. There will be several sheets in the center of the book that you can use for tracing marionette parts. And this is sort of the book I always wished I had access to.
Yeah.
And as much as I love Lumen Coad's marionette source book, there's tons, and just there's great books out there, but there hasn't ever been the one that I was looking for. And so I want to build it.
That's so cool. Yeah, that's true. And your background of like drawing is so appropriate for you, like you have the perfect casting to deliver that product to the world.
Thank you. I sort of enjoy the fact that sometimes all the various twists and turns that a person takes in their life kind of automatically or maybe necessarily leads to a thing that, again, like the puppetry itself, it brings all these different threads together, and it, you know, makes the perfect platform to begin building the thing that I feel needs to be in the world.
Yeah, yeah, and we have Soybox who say like he won his copy, so yeah, yeah, let's bring it to the world.
Well,
so,
and I want to thank Toybox too, because when I was having a very difficult, struggling time the last 3 years, he was one of my patrons, which was fantastic. And you know, I'm in a position now where I can start producing the things that I've wanted to produce for a long time, in part because of the donations and generosity of the community.
Yes, that's true. We need to support like each other, and for sure, Toybox is kind of like he know people, he know a lot of people, so that's true. Toy, that you are around. And so do you have a date? I always ask people about a deadline. Do you have a deadline?
So the book has been taking far longer than I ever anticipated. Yeah. I thought I would finish it, you know, in like 2014 or something like that. And it's been so much more work than I expected. I was really trying to finish it by summer of this year. Of course, I missed that deadline. So now my deadline is Christmas of this year. So I will work diligently to try and get to make that deadline, but it is
the perfect Christmas gift for a puppeteer.
That's right.
Yes, yeah. Yes, for sure. That's perfect to put it on that date. And let me ask you also, do you feel puppetry is in an ascension, is getting more popular on your perspective?
Yes, I do. And I wouldn't have answered it this way just a few years ago. And some of this is a Portland perspective. I noticed that coming from California, which is a very gregarious and open place in a lot of ways, and it was in the 90s, it was before there was really social media of any kind. Mm-hmm. And we would just put up a flyer and people go, "Oh, puppet show," and suddenly it would be, you know, packed. And all through the 2010s, I did puppet shows here in Portland, and I found it very difficult to fill up a house. And I was beginning to feel very much like this isn't something people want, particularly my kind of puppetry, which is a little bit darker. It's definitely meant for grown-ups. It's appropriate for kids, but, you know, in the way that maybe Gremlins is, you know, yeah. or something. It's a little scary. It's a little dark. It's metaphorical, but it is, you know, not, you know, overtly sexual, and we don't have curse words or anything in our shows. Mm-hmm. But we do have blood and violence and death and horror and all kinds of other things. And I just wasn't feeling any traction. It was difficult to get people, yeah. especially in America, where many English-speaking countries, I think, don't have the same tradition with marionettes as the rest of the world does. And sometimes it's difficult to convince adults that it's worth their time to come to see a marionette show. And so for a long time, I really felt like I'm just, you know, pushing this boulder up a hill.
Yeah.
You know? And at some point, it really started to feel like it was changing. And during the pandemic, I think it really changed, because suddenly there's a lot more appreciation for the art. There's a lot more appreciation for the handmade and for, you know, what entertainers and artists do for humanity in general. Yeah. What that sort of dialogue is between an audience and a artist or a puppet maker or a performer. And that, I don't think that conversation was going beforehand. And of course, from an American perspective, I think we all really had our horse blinders on, and we were very focused on just making sure we had rent paid and, you know, all those other things. And don't tell me about silly puppets.
That's so interesting. That's true that we help people to open their gates and their stuff because puppetry is something special. But I'm impressed that you bring this aspect of the cultural stuff. I think like sometimes we are associated to Halloween or to like something like focus into weird like appropriate moment of the year, but
Right.
that's true that it's all the time we can enjoy that.
One of the funniest things that used to happen to me all the time when I was performing is I would do a show that would have these red ribbons of blood flying everywhere after, this character kicks his Frankenstein like maker into a machine, and there's this great dramatic death scene at the end, and then some mom who had like a crying 3-year-old in the audience would come to me and say, "Why would you do this? Puppets are for kids."
Now they can talk about life and death.
That's right. It's no worse than Itchy and Scratchy or Tom and Jerry.
That's true. Oh wow, I love that. And Jack, I want you to bring maybe one of those person character. I don't know what, like it's a woman and the other one is kind of so interesting.
Yeah, he's a hare. It'll be a little bit hard. They're slightly tangled because they were in a box, but I will try and do my best.
Yeah.
Also, a little bit of an awkward position, but
yeah, let's look at this. I will go full screen so we can have like this set. And it's so cool to see the puppeteer in his environment. I really enjoyed that. Yeah. And for sure, it's not a manipulation performance, but it's just to see it in movement. Wow. Look at that. With his leg. Oh, I love the set also. So much color, like it's not color, but so much detail. Wow. So cool. Yeah.
I'll show her.
You have so much detail around this. It's perfect. We enjoy that. Yeah. Look at this. Yeah, we have Hobie Ford. Amazing word. So happy to see you, Hobie. Very cool. Thank you. Look at that. Wow, so much string. Oh, it's a spider. Yeah. Oh. Wow. This is amazing. This is amazing. Wow. Oh, yeah, we feel like the wood too. Yeah, we have Mark who say really good. Yeah, eh? So interesting. Wow, that is so cool. Thank you, Toy. This is perfect. This is amazing. Jack, you are amazing. I think you don't hear me right now because he removed his headset. Jack, we have many good comments around. I need to show it to you. We have Hobie who say amazing work.
Oh yes, I should mention cool. Hobie's book.
Yeah,
he did an amazing book on rod puppetry.
That's true. That's so cool. Yeah, we have Mark who say really cool and toy. Wow, this is so cool. And it's funny. I feel you were kind of shy with like the fact that the string is not like prepared for a show, but it's so interesting for us to see it from from our home to just see an actual, like, so fancy. It's so precise, so
Yeah.
much string and details. And this spider ladies is it's a piece of art. It's so
Yeah,
amazing.
he's got his mechanical leg, which is something that is part of what I enjoy and deal with is the integration of living and machine. And I'll actually show you the backdrop too.
Yes, please. Wow, that's so interesting. Yeah, toy. So glad I turned on my laptop in time to see this interview. That's so cool to have you. Wow, you saw that? Wow. It was the wheel was turning. That's so beautiful. That's so beautiful. So much details in this just one piece of set. This is a lot of work. I understand why you spend so much time on your piece and your work. It's a lot of details.
Yeah, the each set is built like this. They're about 18 inches deep, 3 feet high, and 5 feet wide. They're meant to be on sliding tracks, and so we had very rapid scene changes, and so everything had to be built onto the set. Everything that we wanted. There's lights on board. There's even the crank handle to turn the gears is sort of like stored on the back side of the piece. So, and the most important thing is it has to be light enough for one stagehand to be able to lift from backstage and put on the track system. And then, it pushes onto screen and pushes the previous set off. And it's just, the show is very fast paced in a way as we got our scene changes down to about 15 to 30 seconds.
Wow, it's a marathon, like
Yeah.
it's going around. That's so amazing. We have, like Rand who say, such detail set, and Obi moving gears. That's true. Yeah. We are impressed with those moving gears. It's so cool. Geahk, it was a pleasure to have you on the show. And
Thank you.
Yes, I want you to plug yourself, your social media, like if people want to contact you, know more about your work, where they should go.
Well, very soon I'll have a new website called geahk.art, geahk.art. That's not up right now. Right now it has some scary, like, this site is unsecure or whatever, but soon, within the next week or so. The best place to find my work right now is on Instagram, castironcarousel@instagram.com. I have a YouTube channel, Geahk Burchill. I believe it's just Geahk at YouTube, or YouTube/user/Geahk, or whatever it is. But just Geahk. It's a very easy to Google name because there's only a few Geahks in the world with this spelling. And those are the main places, is YouTube, Instagram, and eventually my website. There is a Cast Iron Carousel Facebook page. If people are interested in making marionettes, on my Facebook page, under the photo albums, you'll find an album called Marionette Making Resources. You'll find patterns and templates and didactic drawings and things like that. Because a big part of my program, or what I want to do, is I want people to learn to build marionettes. I think it's important, and I think it's incredibly rewarding. Just as sort of a little bit of a closing statement, I believe that if we're seeing this sort of robot change where mundane jobs are going away, and things that maybe humans don't need to be doing anyway, standing at assembly lines, humans still need meaning in their lives. Work brings meaning, and perhaps we won't have the same kind of work in the future. I recommend people take on difficult, challenging hobbies that take a lifetime to master. You can get a lot of meaning out of the building of things, and to see your own progress, and to see the things that came from your own two hands and your your brain and your thoughts and theories and emotions and everything else. And I think it's very important that people pick this particular hobby up because it's I'm getting a little emotional, but I love it. I think it's wonderful.
Yeah, it's creation, and art is so therapeutic at the same time. It's helping mankind, and I totally agree with you. I feel if we can like disseminate our art and make people like have the seed like grow and the flower will
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's a lot of beauty that we can have in front of us with more knowledge around for puppetry, and maybe a Christmas gift of a wonderful book of Geahk under the Christmas
Let me see
tree.
if I can find the cover. It's right here somewhere. This is so far. I don't know if this will be.
Let's go in full screen.
Okay.
Wow. Everyone, you have to order this book
when
for
it's
Christmas.
available.
Yeah, but we can send you money in advance for Christmas.
I may change the title. The Illusion of Life is a reference to a very famous book on animation about the original Disney animators known as the Nine Old Men. And I think I'll be calling the book The Construction of the Illusion of Life rather than taking that title too literally. Too directly.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea also. And yeah, we have Scott who say, you're very professional. And yeah, nice closing statement by Toy Box. So yes, for sure. You bring this poetry at the end. It was poetic and we love that. So Geahk, thank you so much. You can stay in the virtual studio. We can chat a little after the interview. I will have to push you out of the screen. So
bye everybody.
Bye. Choo! Everyone, thank you so much for watching. And yes, let's connect all together. Let's find resource about puppetry. This is so cool that we connect with Portland, West Coast, East Coast. Let's go all over the world. And yes, let's be this wonderful, artistic, powerful source of creativity as puppetry is. So everyone, you can have a look also on our Patreon. This is an option, like the Puppet Podcast is doing a lot of stuff to bring the knowledge bouncing all over social media. So yeah, feel free to connect with us and visit our website. We do coaching also to help people to sell more puppetry, to bring this wonderful art to people. So by doing more show, we can have more audience and more people gathering around. So yeah, this is the final motto of the Puppet Podcast. So everyone, I wish you a wonderful evening. Stay safe, but I think things are safer and we can go and forward to envision the future brightly. So everyone, have a wonderful evening and see you soon for another episode of the Puppet Podcast.